In the 70s, we had the birth of disco, glam rock, even punk. The Beatles were no more, but many iconic acts came to the fore this decade, and we have covered the 70s in nearly every way, except albums. So before we count down our top 10 albums of the 70s, here's Neil with 10 70s album facts. Over to you, Nelly.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, Nelly, I haven't been called that in a long time. Used to be a nickname from years ago, probably from the 70s. Anyway, so what I thought we'd do for facts today is count down the biggest selling albums worldwide of the 1970s. So at number 10, we have the Grease soundtrack, which obviously is various artists, and that comes in at 25 million copies sold. At number 9, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton John's album, came in with 31 million albums sold. And then at number 8, we've got The Wall, Pink Floyd, 33 million albums sold. At number 7, we've got Led Zeppelin 4. Led Zeppelin, 37 million albums sold. At number 6, Rumours, Fleetwood Mac, 40 million albums sold. At number 5 is Saturday Night Fever soundtrack, The Bee Gees, 40 million albums sold. Sorry, I could have got lost in that. At number 4, their greatest hits, Eagles, at 41.1 million albums sold. And then at number 3, Hotel California, the Eagles again, with 42 million albums sold. And then number 2, Bat Out of Hell, Meatloaf, 43 million albums sold. And then number 1 is Dark Side of the Moon, Pink Floyd, 50 million albums sold. I thought you were going to put the bass bit on.
No, I wasn't going to put the bass bit on. Oh, dear. So here we are. We're back to the 70s, ladies and gentlemen. Back to the 70s.
Well, the decade of my birth, you said what arrived in the 70s? Me. I arrived in the very early 70s.
It was, I just missed it by 4 months, the 70s. So, let me just... Hello, Neil. First of all, hello. It's lovely to have you back.
And it always makes me moist to see you as well.
Wow. Moist and moobs. What a great way to start.
Oh, I didn't mention that on the podcast. That'll be something for them to hear, wouldn't it?
I never said they were your moobs, did I?
No,
I mean, you know.
Moist moobs.
Moist moobs, yeah. I think they're on Glastonbury Pyramid stage this year.
Oh, that'd be good to see.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've pretty much done. We've got 70s comedy movies coming next week, but this one, now I will tell you, I have spent all this week listening to albums that I should... And again, welcome to another episode of Pav Knows Shit About Music. Pav has a terrible choice of music. We're back to it again, okay? So I've spent the last 4 days listening to albums that I should have listened to 30 years ago, okay? So just so everybody knows, I've listened to, for the first time, London Calling by The Clash. You're not the only person.
That one did shock me.
You're not the only person to have that reaction. I was telling people at work this, and people were either laughing or walking away shocked with their head shaking. So London Calling, The Clash, Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, David Bowie, Hunky Dory, David Bowie, Parallel Lines, Blondie, Dark Side of the Moon. I listened to it from start to finish for the first time.
I need to hear what you thought of that one.
Okay, The Wall, the first time I'd ever listened to that. Peter Frampton Live. So Frampton Goes Live, which was Bean, a request from Bean for me to have a listen to that one. Exodus, Bob Marley.
Yeah.
I listened to Off the Wall, but I listened to that one before, anyway. So, and I have to give a shout out to my friend Azzy at work, who is the guy that every time I say something about Robbie Williams or Adele or Taylor Swift, he just looks at me and shakes his head and said, you need to listen to, this, and this. Just have a listen to them. So I made a point of listening to them. Some of them I thought were great. Some not so great. Okay.
Right.
Dark Side of the Moon. Okay. Now everyone knows me, and they know that things like Radiohead I don't get. Yeah. Things like Pearl Jam I don't get. Pink Floyd, we've spoken about it before.
Yeah.
I don't get it. So I put Dark Side of the Moon on. I'm working away. I'm listening to Dark Side of the Moon, and you can tell me what the first track is. You probably know it off by heart, do you, or not?
It might be Time. I can't remember it off by heart.
Okay, no. So it doesn't matter. I mean, I've probably got it ready and ready to go anyway. I'm listening to it, and all I can think of, this sounds like R2-D2 puking into a microphone. It's all bleep blop bleep blop bleep bloop bleep bloop. So I'm waiting for it to like grab me, just to go, right, I can understand now. I can understand why this is the biggest selling album of the 70s. I can understand why, preempting this, that Neil has got this as his number one of this top 10. Maybe not, but it might be. And as it kept going, I kept thinking to myself, right, okay, somebody obviously got a BBC sound effects LP for Christmas, because there's all these sound effects of walking and laughing and all the, and so I thought I'm just not getting it. I don't understand. The Wall I felt was a little bit more, I enjoyed that a little bit more. Not so much to get it on my top 10.
No.
Let me see. Exodus, I mean, it's Bob Marley and it's reggae, and I don't mean to water it down to its basic essence, because obviously Bob Marley is a lot more than that. But I kind of feel that, like, and people are probably going to really shout at me of this, but I think if you like reggae, you like all reggae. Is that
no
fair? No,
because I think I like some reggae, but some of it even I find not accessible to me.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay.
I've listened to some. You see, people say, I've had a lot of conversations with people that say they're music fans, love reggae. Who's your favourite band? And they turn around and go UB40, and I think,
right.
I can't even talk to you. I can't talk to you about reggae if you're going to say UB40. That's not reggae. And then I'd say simple things like, with you, I think, well, everybody's heard of Bob Marley, and then I'd go, well, have you heard of Jimmy Clear? Who? And then I think, no, there's no point even going any.
So I mean, I don't like you probably do as well, but as soon as I start trying to compile my top 10, I will go online and look at the greatest, the 200 greatest albums, and I will look through.
That's what I like to do, yeah.
And 95% of the 70s albums, I've never listened to anything by any of them. But I really made a point of doing some research for this one, because I know there are albums. I mean, look, Rumours, I only listened to that for the first time last year, and you've been going on at me for years saying you'll love it, and I loved it. It's a great album. So it got to the point where I thought to myself, now I've left it too late. I've left it 50 years too late to compile a proper top 10 of this. There are bits in my top 10 that are obviously going to be here because they mean a lot to me. But I'm not going to win. Again, I'm not going to win any prizes for being cool or for having cool choices. I just want to set that out straight away, because I know that I think yours, if we look at your top 10, it's gonna be full of those cool albums.
Maybe some of them, maybe not so much. I might get some flack for some of them, but like I said, it's the year where we probably started listening to music, whether it be your parents' music,
Absolutely.
whether anything else. So the 70s is huge musically for me. So
Yes.
I would say there's one album on here that people may diss, but I'll go into that a bit later. But I'm going to stick up for you, Pab, because all right, your music might not be my music and vice versa, but it's your music, and that's what makes it special to you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether you like whatever you like, and people are like, "Ooh, why'd you like that?" They're just being music snobs. Fuck them. I really don't like that. You should never judge somebody else for their music taste because everybody's different. And if they're not, what boring world it would be.
Yeah, it's weird when you said about the fact that like your mum and dad's music, because I always feel like the 70s kind of introduces you to music, if you like, and then the 80s, it's what shapes who you are.
Yeah,
if that makes sense, because I know that with 70s, a few of my choices, especially there, because it's what our mum and dad listened to on a Sunday morning. When they were cleaning the house, or when we were all cleaning the house, and when they were cooking Sunday lunch, these went on the record player, and that to me reminds me so much of my childhood. And it was almost like it's the same as, I think it's the same as when you don't have to be when you have a boy, but when your children choose their football club to support, it's normally the football club that. Luckily, my dad never supported a proper team because he just liked the teams that won. Whereas I took the easy road and picked the team that was winning everything at that time, and chose Liverpool. But like my boy supports Liverpool, and it's kind of like that gets passed on. And I think in the 70s, when we were our age, that completely is something that, I mean, my love of the Eagles is because my dad loved the Eagles. I mean, Chic is not really my music, but I will listen to Nile Rodgers stuff because it is just, that was what was on a Sunday morning.
And I'm a huge fan. I've been to see the guy live.
There
I
you
love
go.
it.
See, and
I love it. So there you go.
It wouldn't be my normal choice of stuff, but
no, there's nothing wrong. It's like they're not on my list, but it's like Boney M. I've got a real soft spot for Boney M, and I get so much flack that it's on my playlist that it comes on in the car. Not every track, some of the tracks are cheesy, but I don't know what it is. It's probably because, like you said, it's where you grew up, you listened to it a lot. Not that my mum and dad really had Boney M, but it was always on, wasn't it? Because they were such big sellers.
Yes.
So whether you're watching Top of the Pops, they were there, or Pebble Mill or whatever it was years ago.
Maybe the sort of band that would end up being on Morecambe and Wise or Too Rotten, not Too Rottens maybe, but like those variety shows, they would pop up on that, those kind of things.
Great Pop Cheese,
another ones as well.
Another one, but I always say when people slag Boney M off, you do realise they're one of the biggest selling artists of the 70s.
I mean, they were massive.
Look how many records they sold. So you can't be like that.
Yeah.
But so it's been a hard list. It's been a very hard, and we say this time and time again, but mine has changed, and I still probably think, apart from maybe the top number one, the rest could shuffle next week. They have shuffled, which is, once we get into it, I've got a confession to make on number 10.
Really?
So stuck, yeah.
And the other thing I find is that whenever we do these ones about music, always when I'm writing my list down, I'm always thinking, should I put this one in or that one in, just to fill the cool quota. Yeah, so I can whack a Led Zeppelin in there because then I can say, well, look, I haven't, but I've got a Led Zeppelin in there because it looks a little bit. And I don't. Again, that's not disparaging if you've got Led Zeppelin in there, because you're a lot more. I think you're a lot more of a connoisseur and a listener of music than I am. I'm a very boring and a very lazy listener of music.
No, don't.
I am. I don't mind that.
Yeah, but I don't think so. You listen to what you like, because I'm a terror. If people recommend me music and I get to one song and I think, oh my God, no,
I thought he was going to get the FBI in then, because I thought you
Yeah.
were going to say ist after that.
Oh,
You said
yeah.
terror, and you sort of cleared your throat, and I thought you was going to say ist.
Yeah, a record. So I can be like that. I think
Yeah,
everybody can. Yeah, don't beat yourself up too much. But you see, the problem with this is I've got loads of honourable mentions at the end that easily could have been in. If it'll make no sense, but if the top 10 was bigger than 10, if you know what I mean, they would be in there. They're almost. It's like you could almost. Oh, I don't know. It was too hard. It was too hard.
It was, so, and I'm saying there about not being cool and musically, and I've got my Taylor Swift hoodie on. I mean, you can't get any more cool than that.
Exactly. Well, you see, you love Taylor. I don't dislike Taylor. I'm just not familiar with this stuff.
And like I say, every week, I managed to get Taylor Swift into every episode, so I've done that already, even on a 70's albums episode.
And do you remember when we were getting a lift to the train station, we were talking about Taylor Swift? I think it was before you'd seen her or you'd got the tickets. We were going to see lovely Rachel in London.
Right. Hello, Rachel.
And I made it still embarrasses me to this day, because your Sasha said to me, what Taylor Swift songs do you like? Because I said, I only know one that I've put on my playlist. And I turned around and said it was called Antichrist. It's not at all, is it? It still haunts me that I was so confident in what I said, but it's anti-hero, isn't it?
And there are some people that probably think that that's true.
Well, maybe, but hey, you've got to admire a success, haven't you?
Indeed. Okay, before we get started, we've got to do this.
Lisa's challenge.
What the fuck are you saying?
Thank you, Lisa. Right, so how many do you think we're going to have the same?
I think it's going to be low. I'm going to go high-low, but 2.
Okay.
I'll give it 2. I've got hope that 2 of them might be on there.
Okay, I think that's a very good shape. That's a very good shape, but I'm going to say 1.
Okay.
I think there's 1 nails on that we've definitely got the same. Possibly there's another one I'm looking at that could be there, but we'll go 2-1. Yeah. Okay then, Neil, kick us off with your your controversial number 10.
Right, so it's controversial in the sense that I really couldn't pick between these 2 albums because they mean a lot to me. So I'm going to put them both in. I'm not going to sit and list the tracks, so you can go and explore that yourself. But Aqualung, Jethro Tull, which I know you won't have, and Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division, which I know you won't love.
So you're having 2 for number 10.
I can't decide which one to drop out. I've tried to take one out.
You have to.
Well,
this is the top 10 of anything, not the top 11 of anything.
But I feel guilty about dropping Aqualung because it means a lot to me, and also, Unknown Pleasures. It's Sophie's choice, Pav. It's Sophie's choice.
But in the end, Sophie had to make that choice. So
I mean,
Neil,
I've even got honourable mentions at the end because I was struggling so much.
Well, then I think you have to put one of those in. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'm
so
coming
this will
down
go
with an iron fist.
This will go into right. Okay, I'm just going to randomly pick because I really struggled with this.
Shall I choose for you? Do you want me to choose for you?
No, I've got one. I've just put my finger on it. It's going into honourable mentions, but it could quite easily tomorrow be back in. I'm going to go Aqualung, Jethro Tull.
What, as number 10?
As in the honourable mention, Unknown Pleasures as number 10. Because I think it's too much of an important album not to be in number 10, whereas Aqualung is my guilty prog rock obsession that I love, and I just love that album. It's a headphone album. I don't know why I ended up listening to it in the 70s. Anyway, Unknown Pleasures was an album I didn't discover in the 70s, obviously, because I was only, 8, 9 years old when it came out. So I didn't hear it probably.
I'd be listening to that when you were just 7 or 8 years old.
I would say it was probably towards the 4th, 5th year of secondary school that I discovered this album.
And wouldn't that have been a perfect time to listen to it? Wouldn't that be with your teenage angst and your
absolutely
right?
And at first, I'd heard a little bit, by then I'd heard, all the song that everybody knows. Love Will Tear Us Apart is just everybody knows. It's obviously a great song because it wouldn't be that big a hit. But when I put this album on, Disorder's the first track. And I have to say, that's still one of my favourite. We did a 70s songs, didn't we? A Manchester songs, and I think I put this near the top, or it was on there at least. It's one of my favourite Joy Division songs to this day, and it introduced me and sucked me straight in. I love Ian Curtis's voice. I know not everybody does, and I can understand why people don't like it. But I would say, if you want to try and experiment with a different genre of music you're known, get Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division. And also, I've had the t-shirt years. I got it. It doesn't fit me. But I've got that original Joy Division t-shirt from the early 90s with the waves.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I even got, so I got that t-shirt. And now it's become fashionable again. I saw it in, I saw it, what were we saying the other day? And they were actually selling it in like not a high street chain or an online chain. And I was like, for ladies. And I was thinking, that's going to be the case of the Nirvana and Ramones and everything, that people will be wearing that and not having a fucking clue where it's from. But it's great to see if it brings other people into the mix, bring it on. Bring it on.
You've just got to wear it. It doesn't matter whether you can't fit it or
oh, no, nobody wants to see that.
You've got to wear it.
Honestly, a really badly packed kebab I'd look like.
But what a great billboard for Joy Division, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I probably would be that shape where the waves go straight. There is no waves. Do you know what I mean?
Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, like, everybody knows my thoughts of Joy Division. Again, another band that I just don't get. I don't understand.
And I completely understand. It was the same with Leonard Cohen, wasn't it?
All of those but I know that I'm in the fact that I'm not right with the fact that I don't get it, because the majority of people do, and it's not.
I would say half and half of people I know. I know people that absolutely hate it.
There's so many people that I know, when I say that I don't get Joy Division, they all look at me in horror, and it's like, what don't you get? It's just great.
Yeah, but sometimes I think people say albums like that just to be trendy.
But that's what I was saying in regards to putting it in your top. Not you, but like thinking of putting it in there. Just it just makes you feel a bit sort of with the cool kids, you know. Okay, so well done for making that decision, Neil. I'm proud of you. I really am.
But sorry, Jethro Tull. I would still say everybody go and listen to the album. Mentions.
Yeah. It's like 10.5, isn't it, or 11, whatever. So my number 10 is one of the first. I've got 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 of my top 10 are what I'm going to call my mum and dad Sunday morning albums, and this is one of them. And it is the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack.
Okay, that's a great album. I listened to it as a child on vinyl.
No, it's very close. Sleeve. Fantastic gatefold sleeve with John Travolta in all of his different poses with his iconic white shirt on. And it's the fact that like the Bee Gees had a whole sort of career before, like disco, if you like, before Saturday Night Fever, where it wasn't this kind of music, but they completely changed their whole image and became like the spearhead, the forefront of disco.
Yeah.
You know, and absolutely killed it with so many great songs. And this has got it's got banger after banger on this album. But it is a pure slice of 70s, this album.
Yeah.
And it just, again, it takes me right back to those Sunday mornings, and you can almost smell the Bisto gravy when you listen to this, you know.
So, I mean, you've got Sunday morning for this album. This album reminds me of a Friday night for me.
Right,
because me and my brother would be sent upstairs, and then whatever was going on downstairs, whether they're at a party or just listening to... I know it sounds a bit... but it wasn't. Ominous. But we could hear it coming up through the floorboards. They'd always turn it up, and that's what it reminds me of. Friday night, I'd been sent to bed, and what was ever going on down there.
Yeah.
We used to go and peek, and quite often it was just a group of mum and dad with their friends just chatting, and they had this on.
In the middle of the table, was there a big bowl with car keys in it?
No, but there was a lot of wet wipes around.
Oh, dear. I mean, I very nearly put the Grease soundtrack in my top 10.
Yeah.
But again, with those, they're not 70s songs. They're all 50s songs, and I felt it was a little bit of a cheek to put, even though they're great tunes. I thought, no, I'm not going to put that one on there. So, okay, your number 9 then, please, Neil.
So I think this is a very important album from the 70s, whether you like it or not. It changed music, and it's Never Mind the Bollocks, the Sex Pistols. I love it. I still listen to it to this day. I'm a Sex Pistols fan. I've been to see Johnny Lydon live a few times. Great. We all, I mean, all the hits are on there. Pretty Vacant, Anarchy in the UK, God Save the Queen.
Anakin in the UK.
Anakin in the UK, yeah. Anarchy in the. But it's also got great songs on there like Bodies. I like EMI, which is obviously there to EMI, and things like that. So I like it. I'm a fan of punk. I've moved on with punk as well. I like some of the new punk bands. I heard this in the 70s. I don't know what it was. Well, I do know why. It's my cousins. I used to find it really funny that the album had the word bollocks on the front. And I thought, wait, how do they get away with that? But they let me listen to it, and I enjoyed it then. So this came out in 77. I probably listened to it in 78, maybe 79. It was definitely the 70s. And I can remember really enjoying that. I don't know. It's that aggression, is it?
Yeah.
Because I'm not an aggressive person, but it's that anti-establishment, and I like that. So
this was one of the albums that I've listened to this week.
Okay.
And all I could think about while I was listening to it was, I wonder what it was like listening to this in 77, 78. Because
Shocking.
I can imagine you got more out of it listening to it then than like 50 years later on, when you know that Johnny Rotten is this like fat, not an establishment kind of guy, because he's not. But he's done adverts. He's been in the jungle. He's done all the kinds of stuff that if you told him when he was in Sex Pistols, he would have gone, "Fuck off! I ain't doing that fucking shit." Yeah. But he did, and he did it for money, because he wanted money. Well, that wasn't what the Sex Pistols. Well, I suppose the Sex Pistols were about getting as much cash as they could, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it did make me think. Listening to this for the first time. I know the hits, but listening to it as an album, all I could think about was, what was that like back in 77, 78 when disco was massive, and all of a sudden these fucking punks turn up and are saying bollocks and shit on the on the TV, and it must have been because it'd never been done before. That kind of stuff had never been done before, so I didn't particularly think that it was, for me. It wasn't. I didn't go, "Oh my God, what a great album." All I kept thinking of was, I've listened to this 50 years too late.
Right, yeah. I mean, I still listen to it now. I don't listen to all the hits, you hear them too many, like your Anarchies and your God Save the Queens, etc. You listen to them too much, but the other songs, they've gone on my playlist, and I enjoy that. I enjoy it. And like I say, when you go and see John Lydon now, he hasn't lost that essence of what he had as that snarling young, I wouldn't call him a teenager, but he probably was. But, on the front of the Sex Pistols. Got a lot of admiration for John Lydon as well. He knew that they were being taken for a ride. A great book is his, he's written an autobiography where it's literally warts and all. He says it as it is. You can tell it's written by him because some of it waffles just how he does when he talks. Yeah. Read it and work out that man ethos has not changed from 77 to now. And he talks about the adverts and that, and he said, but I have to make a living, don't I? Yeah. Even if I've got this ethos, I can't do it for free.
Yeah.
And when you see the money he was offered to do it, I don't think anybody would have turned it down. So, but yeah, great album cover. I think I had it on my album list, cover list.
It was indeed. Okay, yeah, good one. Okay, my number 9. This was one of the David Bowie albums that I listened to this week. It started off being the Ziggy Stardust album that I was going to put in my top 10, but instead I went for Hunky Dory.
Well, that's my number 6.
Whoa!
Wow, that's not the one I thought you might have. Wow.
And it was mainly because there were so many different kinds of songs on this. Obviously, you got the ones that, Oh You Pretty Things was in my top 10 Bowie songs that we did with Joe. God, that was last year sometime.
Yeah.
Joe Alvin. But it was Kooks, I thought was a really great song. And there was a couple of songs where it was just piano, which I thought were really, really, lovely, lovely songs.
It's an underrated album, I think it is. I really do.
Mean, again, like I say, what I do is I look and I think, oh, there's a couple of the songs that I know. I mean, any album that's got Life on Mars on, is going to be changes. Yeah. Oh, You Pretty Things is the one that I really liked.
Yeah.
And it was just, I just really enjoyed. I guess I was in the zone of that one. It's weird how music can do that to you. One minute it makes you think there's nothing in this for me, and then straight away then I put another album on, and this one I was thinking, yeah, I really like the vibe of this one. So
my discovery to this album was when I first started to raid my mum and dad's vinyl collection. That was the only Bowie album they had.
Oh, really?
So it was the one I first listened to. It was the one, because obviously we didn't have loads of albums. We had a few, but we never had loads because my parents couldn't afford to do that back then. But they had this one. And when I speak to my parents now, both of them are like, I don't remember having that. But I listened to it over and over again. And it was my introduction to David Bowie. But I stuck with that album for years. Because,
really?
Well, I didn't buy Spiders from Mars, and things like that. I got a bit sort of confused about Ziggy. I was only a child. Who Ziggy Stardust and whether it was the same as David Bowie.
Well, I was always scared of him, of Ziggy Stardust, and it was the same as like Freddie Mercury in the 70s, and it kind of kept me away from listening to it because they were, as a kid, they were frightening because they were different and because they didn't look like just your normal, the Osmonds and people like that, and David Soul, the people that I kind of like listen to, and it's kind of, I'm going to stay away from that because they're a bit frightening, and instead of there's a lot of people then that would have been drawn to that and think I'm going to go and listen to that and soak it in, and that's what I never did. But I was I mean, impressed enough to make it my number.
Yeah, I think that's great because it's all I've I've talked to other David Bowie fans, people who love David Bowie as well, people that have been on the circuit with us with the from Pancast days that I know great, and they were always like, it's a great album, but I can't believe that's your favorite Bowie album. But it's why it's my favorite Bowie album. It means a lot to me.
Well, that's one I didn't think we were going to have in the top 10 together.
Yeah, normally.
So there you go.
Yeah, that's a nice one to have together.
Go on then. What's your number 8 then?
So this is another one I found in my parents' albums is Quadrophenia, The Who.
Right.
And now I love The Who. I just think they're a great band. I think they're underappreciated nowadays to what they did. I think Keith Moon was just a legend, and long may he live, come back. I just think we need somebody like him back in our lives. But it's a great, great album. And then obviously I heard it before I ever saw the movie. So when I finally got to see the movie, You Killed My Fucking Bike. When you get to see the movie and the album, that movie holds then a special place in your heart because the story... it's mods and rockers. For anybody that doesn't know, it's a story of mods and rockers, the violence that used to happen in Brighton, and it's songs relating to a character, Jimmy, and what his life is. It's got beautiful songs. I still think it's got one of the Who's most beautiful song they ever wrote is Love Reign Over Me. If you've never heard it, give yourself a treat. Daltrey's vocals, the sound, the whole mix of that song is just beautiful. It's a long song, but get on it. And just listen to the album. It's one of those albums that you put on, you can listen to because it's a story as well as an album. So get on it.
That I can remember being at secondary school, and that was the movie that like you had to see. Yeah,
because we all famous Leslie Ash scene we got told about.
Because it had shagging in it and stuff like that. And
swearing, nudity.
Yeah, and if you look at it, it's got all of like the young actors that ended up in The Bill and places, things like that. Those faces that you recognise, but are like they're all 16,
very young
17,
Ray Winston
18. Ray Winston, Toya Wilcox was in it.
Yeah,
yeah.
Like you say, the London's Burning crew were in
That's
it.
right. Yeah.
But Phil Daniels is still acting today. I know he's not. He's been EastEnders and stuff, but it's nice to see he's still around. And obviously, he had a huge hit himself with Blur, didn't he? And
Parklife. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, great album, great movie. If people haven't seen it, yeah.
But it's a very. I mean, what year did the movie come out? Was that the same year?
No, it came out a few years after. I think it was 79 because Sting's in the movie as well.
That's right. He was a bellboy, wasn't he?
Well, he was the leader of the mods at first.
But he was the bellboy because
Jimmy saw him as being the bellboy.
Yeah, and shouted at him. Yeah.
But Phil Daniels' performance in that movie, they showed it in the original form. Was it on BBC Four? We had it. I taped it, as they say. No, I recorded it, and I was every time I've seen that movie for years now. They always cut the bath scene. Remember that? You won't remember.
Yes.
This.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, they always cut it. Wherever you saw it, if you bought it on video, it was always cut where Phil Daniels and Ray Winston's character are in, I suppose it's public baths.
Yeah.
Just having the day. And they do a camera shot from the top, and they're both full frontal nude. And for years, we never saw that. And when I saw it, I thought, where's that come from? But again, when they showed it on TV or on the streaming devices, it wasn't in there, which I found mad. But BBC Four over Christmas showed it, and it was all back to its full.
And you were going, way, hey, BBC Four, God bless you.
Come on, Ray and Phil, get your willies out.
This is a Christmas present, double willies.
But a great vinyl album, the Gatefold Sleeves.
Gatefold Sleeves. Okay, well, that's not in my top 10, but Quadrophenia to me, it's Quadrophenia and the young ones remind me of secondary school.
Yeah.
You know, they were, I know they're not the same era, but they were the thing, they were like the rites of passage that you have to, and Video Nasties, watching Video Nasties was always a thing as well. Because when I went to school, people were, it was like the second era of the mods, because with the Jam and everything, everyone was walking around in Harrington jackets or Parker jackets. Everyone had, not everyone, but people had mopeds, and it was like, you know, they had the Who on the back of their jackets and stuff.
And they used to get to, you know, the school disco and do the mod dance.
I never even used to go to school. School discos frightened me when I was little as well, because they were noisy and they were full of people, full of girls for a start, which frightened the shit out of me to start with. Oh dear. Anyway, okay.
I feel your pain, Pav. I feel your pain. I'm still like that now with the nightclub. I'm like, that's not for me in there.
Oh God. Okay, my number 8. I'm going for Bruce Springsteen, 1975, and Born to Run. This I feel was like the big massive album that he had. I mean, he obviously had
Born in the USA, but no, that was 70s.
No, that was 80s. Yeah. Wasn't it? Like Greetings from Asbury Park and all those kind of ones, but Thunder Road, 10th Avenue Freeze Out, Backstreets, Born to Run, Jungle Land. I mean, it's only 39 minutes long, but so I was thinking about Spring. I mean, I think about a lot because a lot of these legacy artists now are getting into their sort of 70s and 80s, and you know there's going to come a time where we're going to lose like 2 or 3 of these a year.
I know.
You know, and with someone like Springsteen, he's still got his voice. That's the thing,
and he's still touring.
He's still touring, and he's still doing 2.5, 3 hour shows a night. Yeah, he can't. He seems to sort of like move around like an old man kind of thing. You know, sort of shuffling on the stage and that, but man, the guy's been going for 50 years, pretty much. Well, yeah, over 50 years.
Oh, it is now, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's for me, this was the album that once I discovered him because of Born in the USA, and he blew up internationally and went through the stratosphere with that album. I then did like I did with Billy Joel. I then went back and started listening to a lot of it. And this album was the album that I probably had on more than any of them. Because Born in the USA is great, but it seemed to have that little bit more polish, and it was a little bit more, what's the word I'm trying to look for? Production. Yeah, it just seemed a little more sheen. You know, it was rock and roll, obviously, but it had a bit more sheen to it. This one, again, just felt a bit more raw. You know, so that's why I've got it in my top 10. So that's
I was very late to the Springsteen party. I was because I didn't really like the song. I wasn't over familiar with Bruce Springsteen, and I didn't like Born in the USA when it came out. I don't know why.
That song.
Yeah, that song.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's one of his best songs.
Yeah, I just didn't like it. It just, I don't know. It seemed like a theatre production sort of song. And back then, when did that come out? 85 was
That
it?
was 85. Yeah, 84,
85.
85. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was sort of 13, 14-year-old. That song did nothing for me. So I was really late. It wasn't till my 20s, and I will thank your brother for it, that gave, I can't remember which album, but started to slowly introduce me. And then I had to work my way through Springsteen. So I was very late to the party. But yeah, great album.
Okay, then, Neil, your number 7, please.
So this might be another one you've put in your list. Parallel Lines, Blondie.
That is my number 5.
Wow. Yeah. Though this album, Debbie, let's always remember, I might have said it on the podcast many times, but I'm going to reiterate it now. Debbie Harry was my first ever poster girl on my wall. I had a crush on Debbie Harry from the age of 5 onwards. Genuinely. I fell in love with the woman. But also, I fell in love with the album. I got to listen to the album probably near its release date. When was that? 77, I think it was. Might have been a bit later. My parents bought it. And then putting on that first side, and straight away where you're greeted with Hanging on the Telephone, you think, wow.
Is there a better 1, 2, 3 punch than Hanging on the Telephone, One Way or Another, and Picture This as the first 3 songs? And again, you remember if it was a vinyl, so what would it have been? 5, those first 5 songs? First 6 songs?
I think the first 6 songs is outside 1, and then let me see, because the last song is Just Go Away, isn't it? On side 2.
Yeah.
So I think it's another 6 on side. I think it's a 12-track album.
Yeah, it is a 12. It's got 12 tracks on
there you
it.
go. That's good remembering.
Well done. That is good. So if you 50% of the first side of that album is just absolute bangers. Every single one. And I had to, because I listened to this one today.
Yeah, right.
Fully.
Okay.
I'd listened to it before, but it's been ages, so I listened to it again today. And I thought I might have had it on shuffle.
Right.
Because I thought, it can't be this one and then this one and this one. Surely. What a fucking start to an album.
Yeah.
Jesus. But what, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I love Debbie Harry. I've stuck with them. I still, I watch them when they do Glastonbury. I haven't been to see them live myself, but I should do, maybe. But I still love Debbie Harry now. I know she doesn't look like she did, and she's aged and everything, but I still look at her now and just think, I still love you, Debbie. I genuinely do. Oh man, she was my first ever crush. Beautiful lady when she was younger, I think.
Well, see, the thing is, now, again, Azzy at work, as soon as I said, because he's got the same feelings for Debbie Harry as you have.
Oh, okay.
I mean, obviously, I'm Carrie Fisher route, Olivia Newton-John route. I can definitely see her. Even the way she sings, there's a lustfulness to her singing that you could easily, as a pubescent boy, you could
enjoy yourself.
Lose a bit of fluid. If I can put it. I was going to try and make it sound not so horrible, but that's even worse.
The other thing that I admire about her, she had a career in the 70s that was different from just being your disco diva or your Barbra Streisand, etc. And it must have been really, really hard to be taken seriously, especially being in the 70s where everything goes. There was no PC, there was no, diversity or anything like that. It was all just black and white, wasn't it, really? Everything and it must have been so hard for her to get through and come through like she did. I mean, she must have been up against some real fucking idiots.
Absolutely. Expecting stuff as well.
That's what I mean.
In that era, yeah.
For such a beautiful girl to be so strong-willed, fair play to her. Fair play. I think she just deserves it all.
Absolutely. Great album.
It is.
And that's our second duplicate.
Yeah, shocker there.
Look at that. Okay, my number 6 is the 70s. So I have to have an ABBA album in there. And this was this album cover, which is basically the 4 of them in the front of a glass domed helicopter. and it's the album Arrival. And this is the album that I can picture in my mind's eye, the one that was just sat on the top of the record player at home.
A lot,
that album cover. And I can tell you now that with knowing me, knowing you, I am sat at the dinner table and I am cleaning my football boots with that album sat on the top of the record player, and I'm using boot dubbing to clean my football boots, my Ray Kennedy football boots, the ones that had like yellow stripes going over them, or green stripes, or whatever it was. And it takes me right back to 1977, 76, 77, whenever it was it actually came out.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy how that sticks in my mind. That I listened again to this album today, and the first album, When I Kissed the Teacher, is a little bit questionable, I must admit. But what got me was that there were so many different types of songs. The final song is called Happy Hawaii, which is like their tribute to the Beach Boys. It's like a Beach Boys kind of song. You've got some like doo-wop sort of rock and roll songs in there as well. So I was really expecting it to be all, because it's been years since I've listened to this album. I'm basically putting this album in because it's nostalgia, and you have to have an ABBA. For me, I love ABBA, so you have to have an ABBA song in a top 70s, 70s albums.
I completely agree. I've got a confession to make. I can't remember which album we had. We had an album, and I can't remember it. I kept saying to my mum and dad, I just can't remember the ABBA album, and I used to love it. Me and my brother used to make obstacle courses in the front room while listening to this ABBA album.
Really?
And I can't remember which one it was. So I'd have to say ABBA would be in my honourable mention, but I can't remember the album.
That's
fine. So sorry.
No need to worry, mate. It's
too long ago. It's too long
yeah.
ago.
Okay, we're halfway through, so it's time for this.
Pop quiz, hot shot.
Yeah, pop quiz, hot shot. I think you're going to do quite well with this, to be fair.
Oh, maybe.
Last week, we had our very first 10 out of 10.
Oh, who was that? May I congratulate them?
So, I haven't got the details.
Don't tell me.
I honestly, my mind's whacked by trying to get this fucking top 10 right tonight. I'm telling you,
it's been a really hard one.
It has been a really hard one, but we had 10 out of 10 correct.
Well, well done, you. I think that's an amazing achievement.
I'm not doing my due diligence if I don't tell you who it was, because it was a fellow podcaster. And just bear with me a sec, because I'm going to find out who it was, and I'm going to give the guy a shout out, because I should know. We did Game of Thrones, top 10 Game of Thrones.
Christ, he must have known his stuff.
Peter from the Movie Duels podcast. Of course,
well done, Peter. That's very impressive. Peter. Getting 10 out of 10. Very impressive.
So the pressure's on. Now, you can score 30 points tonight.
Ooh.
With this. I'm going to give you 3 songs from a top 70s album, and you need to tell me the name of the album, who did it, and the year.
Okay, right. Okay. That might be hard, the year, but we'll give it a go. So
here we go. Number 1, Doobie Wah live, Shine On live, Show Me the Way live. Now, what do you reckon? Doobie Wah live,
Shine On
live, and Show Me the Way live.
Would it be the Eagles live? I don't know. I can't remember now.
I tell you, you start counting to 5 like a sucker.
It's not, I'm afraid. No, it's Frampton Comes Alive.
Oh, I don't know that.
Peter Frampton, 1976. Show Me the Way. Show me the way.
Oh, I know the song. Yeah. I didn't know the live album. I know it's a huge album, and I'm apologising, but it wasn't my parents' record.
That's fine. That's number 1. Number 2, Oh Daddy, Golden Dust Woman, and Songbird.
So that's Rumours, 1977, Fleetwood Mac.
All right.
Well done. That gives you 3 points there. Well done. Number 3, Brand New Cadillac, Rudy Can't Fail, Death or Glory.
Oh, what's Rudy Can't Fail? Why do I know that song?
Why do you know that song?
Is it? No, I don't know. We could be here a long time, me guessing.
No?
I can't think. No, what? It's totally bugging me. The Rudy song.
It is.
I tell you, you start counting to 5 like a sucker.
It was London Calling, The Clash,
Oh, fuck. Yeah, there we go.
1979.
And that's on my honourable mentions.
There you go. Number 4.
Shit.
4 Sticks, Misty Mountain Top, Rock and Roll.
So that's Led Zeppelin. Oh, is that? I don't think that's number 4, is it? Or is it 4? Led Zeppelin 4. We'll go. I don't think it is. Yeah.
It is. What year?
That'll be 75.
Oh, no.
74.
71.
Oh shit. Okay.
But you get 2 points for that, but I can't give you an all right for that, I'm afraid. Number 5, Pretty Baby, Just Go Away, Sunday Girl.
Blondie. What was the
Name of the album?
yeah? It's not Parallel Lines, is it? Because we just talked about that.
Well, I mean, I didn't write these as we were doing the conversation, so
No.
it could be.
No, because I don't remember Sunday Girl being on Parallel Lines, so I can't remember the name of the album, so I can't
What year?
tell you. 77 was Parallel Lines, so I will go 78.
It was 78. It is Parallel Lines.
Is it? I don't remember
is.
Sunday Girl being on Parallel
It
Lines.
is. Well, it is on the one that I was listening to.
But then that might be right.
Okay, number 6, Liar, 17, Holidays in the Sun.
That'll be never mind the bollocks, Sex Pistols, and that'll be 77 again.
All right, all right, all right.
Well done. Number 7, Get on the Floor, Girlfriend, Working Day and Night. Get on the Floor, Girlfriend, Working Day and Night. That almost sounds like a sentence. Get on the floor, girlfriend. You're working day and night.
Get on the floor makes me think of disco. Disco.
Disco.
I'll give up. My mind goes blank with quizzes, and I can't think who that is.
I tell you, you start counting to 5 like a sucker.
It is Off the Wall, Michael Jackson,
Oh shit! It's been
1979.
a long time since I've listened to that album.
There you go. Okay, number 8, Queen Bitch, Andy Warhol.
The Warthol.
Queen Bitch, Andy Warhol, and Oh You Pretty Things.
That's Hunky Dory, David Bowie. So that's early 70s, 72, 3.
I don't know why I ding that. 71.
Ah shit.
71. Number 9, I Wish, All Day Sucker, and Sir Duke. I Wish, All Day Sucker, and Sir Duke.
It's embarrassing, isn't it, when it's just the names of the songs and you suddenly get confused whether that one's on that album.
Well, who do you think it is?
Not even sure they're on the titles of the songs.
Oh, right.
Yeah. No.
No. You're going to get a sucker in.
You start counting to 5 like a sucker.
It was Songs in the Key of Life, Stevie Wonder, 1976.
there we go.
And the final one, I should already play this.
All right, all right, all right.
I Remember Nothing, Shadow Play, and She's Lost Control.
Oh dear, that'll be Aqualung, Jethro Tull. No, Unknown Pleasures, Joy Division.
And what year?
79, I think it was.
Well done. 79. So you got 14 points there, Neil.
Just below 50%, that'll do.
I would say that's...
Story of my life.
All right, all right, all right.
I would say that's all right. Okay, back to the job in hand. So give us your number 5 then, please, Neil.
So, I mean, this to me is a great album, holds up. We talked about reggae before, we've talked about things. It's Bob Marley, it's Exodus.
Oh.
I think this is another superb album where most of the songs are catchy. I mean, it's got his great songs on there. You've got your Exodus, obviously, Jammin'. We all know that song. We all know Three Little Birds. We all know One Love. That's all on this album. That shows you how strong the caliber is of this album. The track albums are nearly as strong. I don't think some of them are quite as strong as obviously the singles, but that obviously why they became singles. I think this is a great introduction to reggae if you don't like reggae. That makes sense. Because it just shows you. And have you watched One Love, the movie?
I haven't yet. No, Azzy, who I was talking about before,
really
said
good.
about that. Yeah,
it's really good. No,
is that right? But did they not have the rights to play his songs, or was that another a movie that I'm thinking of?
Well, it's definitely got his songs in there, but it might have been the way they've. It could be though, because they've had to do it before, haven't they? You can hear the songs, but you can't hear the original songs.
Right.
So I don't know. I'd have to look into that, but I'm trying to think the songs now. You get so absorbed in the lead actor and the story, I've forgotten what songs are all in the movie. I'll watch it again. Not on Paramount Plus at the moment with those freaking adverts, but yeah. But Exodus, Bob Marley. I mean, again, people will have heard of this album. They will know about this album. It's probably a lot of people's top #1 album. It's a great album. I mean, personally, when I listen to Bob Marley now, I quite often just listen to Legend because it's got it all.
Yeah.
And to me, why not? They're the greatest hits for a reason. And I hate this when people say, "Why did you just go to the greatest hits album?" That's why it's called the greatest hits album. You donkey.
Yeah. I mean, I did listen to this one over the last couple of days, and I enjoyed it. I must admit. But it was interesting to listen to the songs that weren't the hits.
Yeah, and what did you make of them?
I enjoyed it.
It's still got the same vibe, hasn't it? That's all you can say.
I feel like I'm being very unfair by saying that. Oh yeah, if you like one reggae song, you like them all. I think that's really playing it very simply, and that's not the case at all. And it's a stupid thing to say, but.
But you might, I can understand thinking that, but then when you start to have a little dive, because I quite like Jimmy Cliff, I'm not like huge into him. His introduction was I Can See Clearly Now, which a lot of people did. And then I saw that movie he was in, what was that? Gonna Get You Sucker or whatever. He did one movie and I ended up watching that. And I sort of into him, but even his music I like, but some of it is too much for me.
Too much. Yeah.
And then when you do this dive into other artists that are recommended, big Jamaican artists and reggae artists, I should say. Yeah, it's not all of it's for me, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. Okay, that's your number 5. My number 5. Parallel Lines from Blondie, 1979. So back to you then, Neil, for your number 4.
So this one, again, I didn't hear it in the 70s. It came out in the 70s. This was what I'd say the 80s, mid-80s, when we started to go around to people's houses and get together as friends. And I think it was, I can't remember who, but they had the cassette. And we started to listen to it. And then it became the culture that every time we went to somebody's house, we put this song on, we all had to sing every track. Now, I think there's only like 6 tracks on the album, and it's Bat Out of Hell, Meatloaf.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I absolutely, 7 tracks on the whole album, not 6. But I think this album is pure theatre. And the songs are fantastic. Jim Steinman, what a bloody songwriter. If you look back over his career and you think, Jesus Christ, the songs you have written, my man, are just epic. Yeah. But this whole album, to me, is just quintessentially my teenage years, because it became the thing. I mean, I'd never want to sing it on karaoke. Imagine trying to sing like Meatloaf. That man could sing, couldn't he?
Yes.
He really could sing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what you think about this.
I mean, I have sung this one at a gig before. The short version of it, the shorter version. But it's like you say, it is rock and roll, but it's theatre.
Yeah,
It
God,
is
yeah.
theatre. I do think that I was going to say all of his songs. You know, it's a Jim Steinman song.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you do.
And it's all of the songs have that piano but rock driven theatrical element to it. And you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a hell of a songwriter.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there wasn't Total Eclipse of the Heart a Jim Steinman.
That was Jim
song.
Steinman, and then there was Celine Dion one. That was Jim Steinman. And
That's right.
You look him up. It's just you think, Jesus, he wrote that as well. He wrote that, and
yeah,
it's crazy. But this,
I'm surprised. I wouldn't have thought this would have been.
No, I love this album. I wasn't so fond on Bat Out of Hell 2.
No,
not really. This one, just I still listen. We still listen to it in holiday mode. We put it on and we all sing along because they're really easy to learn the lyrics when you're with it, and you can all be as theatrical as you want, and you all get your parts. Like Paradise by the Dashboard Light, I think is such a good song. But if you were with Anita, learn it together and she did the female bits. It's so much fun. So much fun.
That would never happen. That would never happen.
But that
is a good one.
Great album.
That'd be on my honourable mentions without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, I could not put it in there. I mean, it's such a good album, and even the ballads are so moving. And Meatloaf's voice is just
2 out of 3 ain't bad. Is that's on?
That's on there, and Heaven Can Wait.
Yeah. So good. So good.
Yeah.
Right. This was the one that I thought is nailed on that we're going to have the same, which is my number 4. And this was the one that you told me for years that you should listen to, and it's Rumours, Fleetwood Mac, 1977.
My number 2.
That's your number 2, right?
Yeah, it's just an album.
You know, when you've probably had it loads of times, and I've had it before. When obviously it's got amazing hits on this, you know, like The Chain, Songbird, Go Your Own Way, Don't Stop, Dreams. Just amazing, iconic songs. But I'd never heard Secondhand News before. And I put it on and I thought, I'm going to love this album. I just knew from that very start. And we've both spoken about Lindsey Buckingham before on episodes that he is just, for me, he's just a musical genius.
Talented.
But so is Stevie Nicks. You know, they all are. It's silly to single any of them out. But when you look at Lindsey Buckingham playing his stuff on his own, it's just mesmerising. Stevie Nicks, I think, has still got a voice to die for.
Well, I went to see her last year at the British Summertime event.
We
got into the Gold Circle to watch her. And she was her voice was just as strong.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean, even... to me, I don't mind Harry Styles. The person I was with said it almost ruined the concert.
Oh, really? Because he turned up.
Because he came out to sing, especially their favourite song and that. So I thought she outshone Harry Styles. Not that he did a bad job or anything.
No.
Her voice is just still sounds like Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, you're creeping up to 80 now.
It's crazy.
And there's another crush of mine.
There you go.
Stevie Nicks some years ago.
You know what? See, I never had a crush on her until I started like listening to this album and doing a bit more of a deep dive, and you can see why. You can see why people have had crushes for her for like 5 decades.
Yeah.
You know, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, she's a beautiful, beautiful person. But
what
an album. If you've never heard Fleetwood Mac Rumours, I'd recommend... I've never heard anybody who I've recommended it to had never heard it come back to me and say, yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah. It's impossible.
I've not heard one.
Impossible. Well, that's our third duplicate, Neil. So neither of us have won, which is way more than obviously I thought we were going to have.
Yeah,
so that was my number 4. So your number 3 then, please, Neil.
So this just scraped into the 70s. It's the Beatles, Let It Be. At number 3. How could we not put what was their final album in? And it makes a lot of sense to watch this and then watch the documentary on Disney Plus as well. Do we need to talk about the tracks? No, probably not. But you can sort of hear they came back together. To me, from the not the White Album, from Abbey Road to Let It Be, they sort of sounded more together. although I think that my favorite album is Abbey Road.
Yeah.
There was just something about it, but it's like Across the Universe, one of my favorite Lennon songs. Two of Us, when you watch, I found a new love for that after watching them write it together, that song.
Yeah.
Obviously let it be, we can all get on that. I Me Mine, that, the George Harrison song. It was a bit of a forgotten Beatles. I got overtaken with the White Album and Abbey Road and had this for years, and it took me. I think I rediscovered my love for it after watching.
Absolutely.
Documentary.
Yeah. And the more with every word that you're saying, I'm gutted that I didn't put it in my top 10, because I thought about putting it in there, and I really thought to myself, is that going to be a bit cliche putting it on there, because it's 1970. It was the end of it, but we've spoken about that documentary before, and it made me love every song on that album more. Yeah, because of seeing, like, I mean, I've always thought Get Back was one of their most boring songs, but again, as we've spoken about it, to see Paul McCartney come up with it by just strumming that bass guitar, made me have a whole new love for that song. And the way that they worked it together, the way they got Billy Preston to come in and do bits and pieces on different songs that gave it a different sound. It just, it should be in my top 10. It should be in my top 10. Yeah,
I've got a feeling. Forget that song. And
he's repurposed that now live on his show now.
He did.
Where John Lennon comes up on the screen.
He does, yeah.
Singing this bit. Yeah. Which was a genius thing to do.
It is, absolutely. How did you stand on the long and winding road, though?
I love that song. I absolutely love that song.
I mean, to me, it's become one of those songs that was always on every compilation, not the official compilations. It was always on the compilations if you got a Beatles one, wherever. And I got bored of it growing up. Again, it was that documentary that made me love it again. Because I know some people just find it too boring now.
I can see that, but I mean, Let It Be is one of my favourite Beatles songs of all time.
Well,
if not,
you can't knock that one, can you?
You can't.
There's nothing. It's just a beautiful written. We all wish we could write a song like that. That's the thing.
Yeah,
we all think.
I'm gutted now. I really am. Saying that, my number 3 was the band that the Beatles wanted to be, and that's Wings, as Alan Partridge once said. Paul McCartney and Wings, 1973, Band on the Run. And this is another album. I studied that album cover that my dad had, because it was the prison escape in the big spotlight with all these famous people.
But did you know them all?
I knew. The weird thing was, I was obviously scared of Christopher Lee because he was Dracula. I can remember Clement Freud.
Oh yeah,
because he used to do. No, was it a dog food advert he used to do?
I can't remember, Pav.
I'm sure it was, because wasn't it with a dog that had like the old Fred Basset hound dog, because it looked like him. John Conte was one of them, wasn't it? Not Errol Flynn. Why am I saying Errol Flynn? Not Errol Flynn.
I can't remember them all.
James Coburn, John Conte was another one. Michael Parkinson, and then the members of Wings, and there might have been a couple of others as well. But it was just mesmerising because I knew a couple of the faces. But it was such a great, and I love the fact that there's a piece of video footage which I'll try and put on the video playlist for our Patreon subscribers, showing them take that photo and trying to get everybody in the right position.
And it's been mimicked loads in different ways, hasn't it? That photo?
Has it?
In certain ways,
I can imagine the Simpsons must have done it.
It's becoming part of pop culture.
Yeah,
I can remember it might have been for Comic Relief or something like that, where a load of comedians did that.
Oh, right.
Running of that. It's a bit like the Sergeant Pepper. I'm not saying they look alike, but it's the same thing as the Sergeant Peppers. It's become iconic in history, and people have done their own variations.
Yeah.
But
there's so many. Nine songs, 41 minutes. This is 1985. You're listening to now. Band on the Run, Jet, Bluebird, Let Me Roll It, Picasso's Last Words, Drinks and Me. Just fantastic songs. So it had to be in my top 10.
Unfortunately, Alan Partridge has ruined Jet for me.
I was saying that I was thinking the same thing in regards to the ABBA with Knowing Me, Knowing You. It's one of my favourite songs, but you can't help but go aha when it comes to the aha bit.
But, Jet.
Yes, exactly.
That's all I keep thinking.
Exactly. But there you go. Okay, so that's my number 3. So what's your number 2 was Rumours.
Rumours, yeah.
Fleetwood Mac. So my number 2. I mean, for me, it's the ultimate in regards to our mum and dad's songs. The things that lived on the top on the record player on a Sunday morning was Chic's greatest hits, and then also it was the best of the Eagles, which we had in the
greatest albums.
But I didn't want to put a greatest hits in my top 10.
That's what I tried to avoid to do.
So I've put Hotel California, 1976.
I was thinking that might be your number 1.
Yeah, it's. I listened to this, when I was doing my research, and I was listening to these albums, and then listening to the next one, listening to the next one. This was the only one that I listened to it, and then stopped, and then listened to it from the start all over again. I just kept listening to it's just, there isn't a bad song on this album, and I love their harmonies. Who wouldn't?
They're impossible, aren't they?
And this is another one of those songs that, like Bohemian Rhapsody, and like those songs that you take for granted because you've heard it so many times. But if you just put your headphones on and turn it up maybe a little bit louder than you normally would, and listen to the song, listen to every little bit of that song. Yeah, it's a work of art. It absolutely is a work of art. So it had to be. It didn't make my number 1.
Which that's what I had in my head that would be your number 1. It's in my honourable mentions. I think every person who was born sort of early 70s knew that their parents had this in their album. You know, it just became synonymous of just being part of the 70s. My question to you now is, do you think they've still got it? Because obviously...
you sounded like a lawyer then.
Yeah. Let me tell you, do you think going to see the Eagles now, because they're still touring, aren't they?
They are still touring, yeah.
Do you think they'd be as good?
Well, see, I've seen video footage of their tour from last year that they were doing, and there were rumours, accusations that that Don Henley was miming some of the stuff, and I would hope that that's not the case.
Backing track.
But the trouble is, the Eagles, but the Eagles are their harmonies, and the fact that like Glenn Frey, whatever, however you say it, is not with us anymore, and I think his son took over a little bit and is maybe still doing it. He did for a bit.
I don't know whether he still does.
It just, to me, it that's what the Eagles are, and as we know, they've been doing it for 50 years. Those voices are not going to be the same as they were back in 1976.
That's why I asked, because I've seen footage of recent, and I think, well, if they still sound like that, that's freaking amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope it isn't electronically enhanced.
Yeah.
But it may possibly. Then the question is, are you paying your £100 for your ticket to listen to something that's the same as 1976, or are you going because you can say that you went and saw the Eagles? Yeah. You went and saw Paul McCartney, 82-year-old Paul McCartney, whose voice is shot. Do you want him to sing Live and Let Die the way he did in 1977, 78? Or are you happy that you're just seeing Paul McCartney? Because that I think is the question you have to ask for these legacy artists now.
When I went to see Roger Waters on his final tour, his last tour, I didn't go to see him. Well, obviously I went to see him, but I wanted to see the music because he puts on such a production. It's just
but then he's not renowned for singing, that, isn't he? He's not renowned as an amazing singer.
No.
So he can probably get away with it. But if you go if you go and see, I mean, look, I always thought Paul McCartney has got a good voice. He's not got, would you say, is a classically brilliant voice. But when you hear what he's like now, it's gone. The voice has got. When he tries to sing with just a guitar and he's singing Blackbird, it doesn't sound good.
It's not the same, is it?
No.
81 or 82 that he is, and still putting on a 3-hour show though.
You cannot. No, and like I've said before, when he does go, that's when people go, "Oh, wasn't he great? Wasn't he fantastic?" And which is absolutely right, because he is an absolute legend.
He is. He's part of the package that changed popular music.
Yeah, and I always feel that I feel a little bit. It's horrible that John Lennon died, and he died the way that he did. But he's like a lot of these music legends that died early, that they are then not trapped, but they are encased in this sort of ball of this is how he was. He hasn't ruined his legacy by becoming an 80-year-old man trotting out and trying to sing Imagine on a piano, and people going, Jesus Christ, he can't bloody sing anymore. Oh my God. Whereas Paul McCartney still does. Yeah. And people are taking it for granted that, it's fucking Paul McCartney again doing that shit, and he sounds awful and he sounds terrible. Instead of like maybe if he was 60 and said, that's it, I'm done now, I'm not doing it anymore. And people will go, yeah, but when I saw him when he was 60, he was fucking amazing. Yeah. You got to feel sorry for him because he can't win. Either way, he can't win.
No, but as he said, he doesn't need to keep touring. He does it because he loves music so much. And
don't you think that's what a lot of them are like?
Yeah.
Like they cease to exist if they don't go out. Like the Rolling Stones are the same.
Absolutely. Because I think they'd be probably god awful now, and they've announced another tour.
They're still doing it.
They are.
Okay, so we've done right. So give us your countdown from 10 to 2, Neil. I'll do mine, and then we'll reveal our number ones, which I think I know what your number one is.
Okay, so number 10 is No, it's not. It's Unknown Pleasures, Joy Division. Number 9 is Nevermind the Bollocks, the Sex Pistols. Number 8, Quadrophenia, The Who. Number 7, Parallel Lines. The Who. Parallel Lines, Blondie, that's who. 6, Hunky Dory, David Bowie. Number 5, Exodus, Bob Marley. Number 4, Bat Out of Hell, Meatloaf. Number 3, Let It Be, The Beatles. And number 2, Rumours, Fleetwood Mac.
Wonderful. And mine is number 10, Saturday Night Fever by the Bee Gees. Number 9, Hunky Dory, David Bowie. That was another thing. Listening to it, all I could think of was like Ricky Gervais doing a David Bowie impersonation.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because it sounded it was almost like that David Bowie was doing an impersonation of David Bowie, but obviously that's what he was at that time. I meant to say that then. Number 8 was Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. Number 7, Off the Wall, Michael Jackson. 6, Arrival by ABBA. 5, Parallel Lines, Blondie. 4, Rumours, Fleetwood Mac. 3, Band on the Run, Paul McCartney and Wings. And number 2, Hotel California, the Eagles. So Neil, what is your number 1 album of the 70s? And please say yes or no. Is it Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd?
No, that's in honourable mentions.
Is it The Wall by Pink Floyd?
The Wall
It's going to be one of the two.
Yeah. The Wall is my favourite Pink Floyd album. So, because, you've experienced it now. Especially now we don't have to change the cassette or the vinyl and turn it over. It's a concept album that when it starts, you go through to the end and then it'll start again. It's one of those loops, and it's a constant loop, and it'll just keep going. But the songs in it mean a lot to me, obviously, especially suffering with some mental illness. Some of the songs just really kick home. But I don't know. I love the story. I love the music. I love Dave Gilmour's guitar work in this. Is just second to none. Roger Waters wrote great lyrics. The whole band came together. Richard Wright, we always forget Richard Wright of Pink Floyd because he passed so young, but it's my album. And then I'm an apologist and I love the movie. Loads of people hate the movie. I love the movie. It fits with me. But I've even got the original. I bought this that we're listening to now. I bought this on 7-inch vinyl and I've still got it. Yeah. And this album, I've introduced loads of people to it. Some have not liked it. Some of it has become their favourite albums. I would say I listen to this album probably once every 2 weeks, easily.
Really?
From start to beginning, yeah. This album means a lot to me, and I love it. I think it's such a good album. Such a good album.
Well, there you go. I mean, I'm surprised that there wasn't more than one Pink Floyd album in your top 10.
Purposely didn't want to.
Right.
But also, I've got honourable mentions, and I put the 3 Pink Floyd albums that I think of when you think of the 70s: Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, which I actually prefer over Dark Side, controversially, and Animals. Animals is a forgotten gem, but there we are. It had to be The Wall, because I still think that would probably be my favourite album of all time.
Really?
So it had to be, yeah, genuinely.
Okie dokie. So that was your number 1. Well done, Neil. My number 1 is The Wall by Pink Floyd. No, it's not.
That'd be amazing.
The same as I said with Bruce Springsteen, that Born in the USA was my in to Bruce Springsteen, and I worked my way back. An Innocent Man by Billy Joel was my in for Billy Joel, and then I went from there all the way back to Cold Spring Harbor, which very closely got into my top 10. It's an album that album is laughed at, because when they engineered it at the wrong speed, and Billy Joel sounds like a chipmunk but there's some great songs on there. But I'm going for The Stranger by Billy Joel, 1977, and again another 1977 album.
That was what a year for albums.
What a year! Star Wars came out. It was that. I've told you that's the fulcrum year of my life. 1977 for some reason. Moving Out, Anthony's song, The Stranger, Just the Way You Are, Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, Vienna, which is my favourite Billy Joel song of all time. Only the Good Die Young, She's Always a Woman, and then you've got Get It Right the First Time and Everybody Has a Dream at the end. So every single one of those songs is a song that I've loved for years and years, well, since 1983 when Innocent Man came out, and then I found the Stranger album from that. Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, which is the one that I'm playing now, is one of those great sort of 3 or 4 parts. It's got 3 different songs all mixed together.
Yeah.
Starts
he does
off
that so well.
He's so good at it, and they're so complicated to you listen to. Yeah. How did he write that? Like I say, Vienna for me is that song that I can't remember the name of the song. Even my daughter knows the song because it was in a movie. I can't remember which movie it was in, Princess Diaries or something like that. And Just the Way You Are, like I can remember watching Billy Joel live from Wembley in 1983. And his intro to that was, this song wasn't written by Barry White, because Barry White had a massive hit with Just the Way You Are. And everyone thought that was one of his songs, and it wasn't. It was a Billy Joel song. So that is my number 1. I'm going to have The Stranger, 1977, Billy Joel.
That's on my honourable mentions.
Cool.
The Stranger.
That's nice to
there
know.
You go. And the other ones was London Burning, The Clash, Led Zeppelin 4, and Lust for Life, Iggy Pop.
Ah, nice. And the other honourable mentions we have, so at GR Dix Author on X, Queen 2, their best work as a start to finish whole piece, in my opinion. Dave Williams on Facebook said definitely The Stranger by Billy Joel. Maria Pereira, hello Maria, miss you. The Clash debut album 1977. I know London Calling is more popular, but I absolutely love the distortion and grittiness of their debut just a touch more. The Specials 1979 always has a place in my two-tone ska-loving heart. A Message to You Rudy will always make me stop what I'm doing and dance. Willie Nelson, Red-Headed Stranger from 1975. Every country producer told him he'd fall flat on his face if he put this album out, but they let him do it to prove a point, and it's still one of his and country's greatest albums of all time. Led Zeppelin 4, 1971. How could this not be a top 10? The opening lyrics and chords of Black Dog basically scream 1970s even today.
I'll tell you why it didn't go in my top 10.
Go on then.
Stairway to Heaven.
Oh,
that's all I'll say.
Okay. Okay, she carries on saying, if you hear it, you know when and who this is. Rock and roll, Stairway to Heaven, Going to California. And all right, I'll end my filibuster here. Can't wait to listen. Love you guys. Love you too, Maria.
Oh, we love you too.
Indeed. Rick Tyndall says, in no particular order, Captain Fantastic, Elton. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Elton. Rumours, Fleetwood Mac. Fleetwood Mac, Hotel California, Eagles, The Stranger, Billy Joel, Breakfast in America, Supertramp, Phases and Stages, Willie Nelson, Cosmos Factory by Creedence Clearwater Revival, and Against the Wind, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band.
Wow.
Paul Osgood said, how can you choose just one? There's a half a dozen in that picture, which was the picture that's our thumbnail. Alone, that would be my number one on different days. Sex Pistols, If I Had a Gun to My Head.
Whoa, well done. There we go.
So Sex Pistols, if you had a sex pistol to your head, maybe.
Yeah.
Nikki, well, maybe not. Nikki Dennis, Eagles, Hotel California, and Fleetwood Mac, Rumours, and Simon and Garfunkel's Bridge Over Troubled Water.
Oh, Christ, yeah. That's a great album.
Patricia Williams Romero said David Live. Now, I'm not quite sure whether she means, is that David Bowie live or David
Is there an
Suchet
album
live? I don't know.
Shall I quickly Google it while we're there?
You can Google it. And I've got one more.
David
Dawn
Live.
Sardella Ayres says it's not considered a classic, but how can I not mention Donna Summer's Bad Girls? So many bangers, plus Giorgio Moroder.
Oh, wow.
And Neil, what have we got on
David Live? Is David Bowie's live album. Let me see quickly. Bring it up and give you some track lists. Oh, it's all the hits. There you go. That'll be why.
From what year?
Let me just see year of release. 74.
74. There you go, Patricia. Thank you very much. David Live for David Bowie from 1970.
I was unaware of that one. I'm going to have a listen to that now.
Have to have a listen.
I will.
That's it. We've done it. Our top 10 70s albums. I really think the only thing we've got left to cover the 70s for now is comedy movies, which we've got coming next week. So there you go.
Your favourite date in 1970s?
Favourite date? Well, that would have to be...
That would just be...
Well, I was going to say it would have to be May 1977, but we didn't get Star Wars until Christmas of 77 or January of 78, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So there you go. But it always seems synonymous, 77 and Star Wars anyway.
It does.
So there you go. I got Taylor Swift and Star Wars in the episode, as I can tick that off my list. Oh. Well, there you go, Neil. And remember, you can hear Neil's dulcet tones at the end of the episode with all of our info and everything, so he doesn't need to say it now. It's all there, recorded on special tape in his beautiful, beautiful voice. And obviously all of the information there you can find in our show notes as well. Neil, thank you so much for joining us. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you very much, Pav. It was, but mind-bending because I still think, oh, I got my list wrong. But hey, there is no wrong lists.
Yes, indeed. And mine's not cool, but it's 3 times as cool as Neil. Not 3 times the same cool as Neil, because we have 3.
Exactly. Yours is as cool as mine all the way through. I'll fight anyone that says otherwise. And can I just say a big thank you to everyone else who's been still dropping me messages. Love you all. Love you.
Bless you. And thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Neil. We'll see you again, hopefully next month.
Yeah, you will.
Wonderful. We'll see everyone else. And thank you very much for watching and listening. And let's go start the countdown.
Hey.